Hello, 2021 graduates. Congratulations on such an amazing accomplishment. We at WDT are so excited to be able to host in-person graduation ceremonies this year. Although it looks a little bit different than our traditional years, we're still super excited. With that being said, generally we would have an in-person graduation rehearsal as well, and we would walk you through the entire event and you would have time to get your questions answered that you might have. In lieu of that this year, as with so many other things with COVID, we are going to go ahead and make some adjustments, and we are hosting a recorded rehearsal option, more of a digital platform, which is what this video is for. Now, we did host 2 live graduation rehearsal options recently. If you were able to chime into those, awesome. You probably got a lot of your questions answered then. Maybe this is just a refresher video for you. If this is the only exposure you have to the graduation rehearsal on the digital platform, no worries. Everything that was covered from me is still going to be covered in this video, just as it was in those live events. So as you finish watching this video and you're taking notes, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions at the end. We're going to cover a lot of information in about 30 minutes, and I'm also going to share my screen so you can actually write down and take notes of what I'm talking about, as well as reference some maps that we put together for you to try to give you as much of a hands-on idea of what to expect when you show up to the monument, aka the Civic Center, which is probably how I'm going to be referencing this mostly throughout this video. So with that being said, we will go ahead and jump in. But first, I want to just introduce myself officially. My name is Fawn Hall, and I am the current director of the West River CTE Consortium for Western Dakota Tech. Prior to this position, I was actually in the Student Success Center as a coach and then as the coordinator. And so I have several years of experience helping planning the graduation ceremonies, and it's part of my job I absolutely adored. So I'm super excited to be back this year to be helping and put this together and celebrating with you. So give me just a moment here and we will go ahead and I will get my screen shared and we will jump right in. The resources I'm going to be referencing throughout this video, the PowerPoint and the maps, are also included as links in your email as well that this video was included in. So feel free to open up those attachments so that you can reference it on your own computer if that's easier for you as well, and or print them off if that's what you prefer to do so you have them the day of the ceremony. Okay, so let's take a look at the slideshow. And again, this was just built to kind of help give you more of a reference point as I walk through this. And so especially if you're more of a visual learner, you can have something that you're reading as I'm discussing. Of course, you are going to want to come to the Civic Center with the knowledge of what ceremony your program is participating in. Usually not an issue, but this year we've had to break up the ceremony into 3 different ceremonies to accommodate CDC guidelines and social distancing guidelines. So make sure you have that information. If you, for some reason, have missed that along the way up to this point, please reach out as soon as possible so that we can go ahead and get you that information right away. You're going to want to know where you're going and what to do when you arrive, as well as what time you need to arrive. There is a specific time to make sure that we go off without a hitch and on schedule. So be sure to make a note of that information as we go along here. You'll hear me say this a couple of times, as you've heard throughout the last year in general. Please remember your masks. We will be requiring all guests and graduates, as well as Western Dakota Tech staff and faculty, to be wearing their masks at all times. We understand that the Monument Civic Center itself is not a mask required venue. However, Western Dakota Tech is, and this is a Western Dakota Tech sponsored event essentially. And so we do need to go ahead and make sure that we're still adhering to those guidelines that we have set forth. You're going to want to remind your guests to bring their tickets as well as their masks with them as well. As I mentioned, guests also are going to be required to keep their mask on at all times. Tickets are going to be how they're going to be entered into the Barnett Arena. That will be their admittance, and to ensure that they don't have any additional guests with them or anything like that, so we can again accommodate that 6 feet social distancing guidelines that are set forth currently. And we're going to be talking about a lot more things. So like I said, just kind of take some notes here, sit back, relax, and then reach out if you have any questions once we get to the end. So with tickets, every graduate should have received 7 tickets when they picked up their cap and gown from our registrar's office. No additional tickets are being provided to any graduates from Western Dakota Tech ourselves, and each ceremony has their own color of tickets. So keep that in mind if you are reaching out to another graduate to see if they have any extra tickets that they're not using, that the tickets will need to be specific to that ceremony. Children of all ages must have a ticket, and that does include infants and children, young children specifically, excuse me. Guest seating. So guests can sit in open seats in groups of 7. They cannot sit in the seats that are blocked off, and they'll be blocked off pretty obviously with big tape. Almost looks like caution tape, but a little more friendly. So please keep that in mind as your guests are finding seats. We don't have assigned seats for a graduate, of course, but they'll just want to make sure that they're looking for the seats that are not blocked off. Mask requirement, again, here we go. So every guest does need to have a mask, everyone attending. The only exception to this is infants and children under the age of 5. So if you have a 5-year-old friend or family member that's attending, you are going to want to make sure that they do have a mask. So it's only under the age of 5. If for some reason your friends or family forget their mask or misplace it, we will have masks available before entering the arena so that we can go ahead and make sure that they are meeting the requirements and able to enjoy your ceremony and celebrate with you. Arrival time and place for your guests. So of course your guests are going to want to be there on time and to celebrate and watch the entire ceremony. So a little bit of information about that. Our arena doors are going to open 45 minutes prior to the start of each ceremony. Pretty easy to figure that out, but I do have it broken down here for your reference, just in case you want to know exactly when that's going to happen. Now, the Civic Center doors will be open before that, as they generally are, but guests will not be able to enter into the arena until that 45 minutes prior to the ceremony start time. Parking and entrance, guests can park anywhere in the Civic Center parking lot, of course. However, for the most accessible area, they would want to park across from Central High School, closest to where the Barnett Arena is at, and they can enter through those Civic Center doors. Now, when they come in, they're going to want to go to the second set of doors, the ones furthest, from the Civic Center entrance doors. So when you first walk in the Civic Center closest to the Barnett Arena, you pass the first set of arena doors. There's a ticket kiosk, and then there's the second set. They're going to want to go into the second set. And I will show us a map here in just a moment once I get this slide wrapped up. Upon entrance into the arena, the WDT staff who are assigned to those positions will collect the guest tickets and make sure that their masks are worn, as well as explain any guidelines on wearing the masks and maintaining social distancing as well. They will also provide ceremony programs to your guests, and if your guests do need help finding a seat or a good seat or what have you, then they can help with that also. We will have ADA seating available both on the floor of the arena as well as in the normal ADA seating area, which is accessible by elevator in the arena also, and the staff that are working that front entrance can help get you your guest into the correct spots that they need to be in. So let's take a minute and take a look at that map that I was referencing. So up top here, this is the Civic Center entrance closest to the Barnett Arena that I was talking about. So this would be like the first set of doors to the Barnett Arena, and they're going to be locked and closed. There's not even an option to enter in through there. And then there's the ticket kiosk where you can order, concert tickets, all that kind of good stuff. And then you'll go down just a little bit past some big pillars, and then there's a second set of doors to the arena, and this is where your family will enter. With that being said, we will have this general area down here blocked off, as only graduates will be permitted into that area, so that we are not, having a lot of congestion in there with social distancing guidelines again. So just a little reference here, we will look at this map again as we talk about lining up and whatnot. Okay, so information for you, the graduates, because without you, there's no ceremony. So we need to make sure that you have the right information of where to be, when to be there, and all that good stuff. So all graduates need to be in the cafe court area of the Civic Center at least 30 minutes prior to the start of your specific ceremony. Again, I have the times broken down there for you if you're more of a visual person, just for convenience sake. Now, when you arrive to that cafe court area, there will be somebody who will let you in to that area since it'll be blocked off. So you'll want to have your cap and gown with you, just obviously some kind of sign that you're a graduate. It's going to be pretty easy to tell, so don't stress about that. You will want to have your cap and gown on at least that 30 minutes prior. The tops of your caps can be decorated, but no other personal decorations or accessories on either your cap or your gown are going to be permitted. And I'm sure this goes without being said, but just for the sake of information, please remember no vulgar language, no profanity, anything of the sort. You will want to be listening for your program and your specific name to be called within that program area. This is your cue that it's time for you to go get in line. We'll have two lines, line 1 and 2, and we'll let you know which line to get into, but it is important that you are listening and paying attention during that time. We'll have a speaker system and a microphone, but it's still not super loud, so please just keep that in mind as we're calling graduates to get in line so we can have a successful ceremony. Once you are in line, we ask that you remain in your place in line. Now, if you have an emergency or need to run to the bathroom quick and didn't realize it beforehand, not a big deal, things happen. Just pay attention to who's in front of you and who's behind you so you can get back into your line placement. Now, there will be myself as well as 1 or 2 other Western Dakota Tech staff that will be going around, and we will be verifying line placement a couple of times because it is very important that we have you lined up correctly. So with that happening, don't stress too much. Keep the information we give you, stay in line where you are, and if you absolutely have to get out of line and can't remember where you're at, just find one of us and we will get you back to where you need to be. A couple of notes: if you do anticipate graduating with honors, we want you to arrive at least 45 minutes prior to the start of your graduation, and this just allows you to go ahead and get your honor cords and get those kind of placed around you, feeling comfortable and confident with those, as well as vet cord if you are a vet graduating with us. And if you do want your individual picture taken, Johnny Sunby Photography will be available just across from the cafe court area. So you'll still need to go in through the same general vicinity, and you can get a picture packet and then get a line or get over there to get your individual picture taken. Please be aware we will not be doing group photos this year. Again, social distancing, but he will be available there before each ceremony, so you'll have time to get your picture taken. You can show up an hour early. You know, you're not going to want to show up too early and just be standing around, but he will be available beforehand. So as you are in line, the staff will be giving you name cards. Your name card is what you are going to give to the gal at the platform who's going to be reading names for you to walk across the stage. So it is very important that you hold on to this name card. You will have the availability to change what is on the name card to maybe a nickname or a shorter name that you go by. For example, if your legal name is Jonathan, that's what's going to be printed on the name card. But if you go by John and that's what you want read when you go up to the stage to get your diploma, then you are going to want to cross out Jonathan and write John, because what is visible on there is exactly what she is going to read. So you won't be able to whisper to her what you want or anything like that. So make sure you get those changes made beforehand. Be careful not to cross out what you do want read on the card. It's very, very important. And again, probably goes without needing to be said, but just for the sake of sanity here and safety, you cannot put a name on there like Batman or Wonder Woman or anything crazy like that. So it does need to be true to your name and a representation of who you are as the graduate. Now, when we are lined up, the next step will be to have 2 ushers at the front of that line. As they are in the front of that line, they will be the ones who kind of set the pace and walk the graduates into the Civic Center. As I mentioned, there'll be 2 lines. So one line will have one of our success coaches, Bree Quinn, and the other line will have Taryn Richardson. So they are both coaches in the Student Success Center, so you may have seen them around, maybe not, but you'll be able to spot them because they'll have their WDT name tag on, and they will be the first people to walk in the arena, so at the very front of that line. When you walk into the arena, you are going to be going after the platform party and after the faculty, because of course they want to watch you walk in as well. You are going to enter the arena behind the bleachers, so through the cafe court, behind the bleachers, kind of backstage stuff because you're the VIP guests. And you're going to make your way to your seats through the arena floor. You'll go down the center aisle. Once you're at your seat, we do ask that you remain standing until you are told to sit. It's part of the ceremony script, so it's very clear in there that that everybody can take a seat. So let's take a look at that map again so that you have a reference point as to where you're going. So when we have you lining up, here's line 1 and line 2. So as I mentioned, you'll go through the North Concourse. So you'll come in the Civic Center entrance, you'll walk straight down the hall, you'll get admitted into this area. Over here underneath the stairwell is where the photographs will be taken if you wanted those individual photos. Over here in the food court area is where we're asking you to group up by programs as much as possible. So when we call your name, it's easier to get all the programs together. So the first line is represented here in this teal color, and the second line is represented here in this reddish color. So we will let you know what line to get in when we call your name, so don't stress about that. And it is important to stay in that line because as you see, this line disperses off to the right and the teal line disperses off to the left once you go down the center aisle. So it is very specific, a lot of intention behind the planning here. And this is that set of bleachers I was saying we would walk through and you'd go behind the bleachers. Okay. As I referenced earlier, just while we have this map up, there is ADA seating available on the floor. This just gives you a reference as to about where that's going to be if you wanted to just kind of give your guests a heads up that might need to take advantage of that. So at the front of each line will be our ushers, as I mentioned. So going back to our presentation here, during the ceremony, there's a couple of things we want to make sure that you know so you know what to expect. As far as receiving your diploma covers, this is going to happen after our VP of Teaching and Learning, Tiffany Howe, asks the degree candidates to rise. You'll be told when to sit and you'll also be told when to stand. That is your cue to stand for everybody, for all of the graduates. While you're standing, our president, Dr. Bowman, will address the graduates to advance to the platform to receive their diploma. This is not every graduate. We always do one row at a time. And so, of course, we'll start with the first row. At this time, only the first row, as it says there, on both left and right sides. So the entire first row will make their way to the platform and all other graduates will sit back down. The ushers that we have there that I mentioned, Taryn and Bree, they are also there to help you throughout the ceremony to know when to go up to the platform and to know when to sit and when to stand and all that stuff. So you're also going to want to pay a little bit of attention to them. They'll cue your row to stand by going like this, and they'll cue you to sit down by something like this. So be aware of that we are going to have cues throughout. So you're not going to have to remember so much. You just got to make sure you're paying attention to what's happening. Once the first row of the graduates make their way to the platform and the rest of the graduates have seated, we do ask that you practice social distancing as much as possible when you're going up the ramp to the platform, the stage area to get your diploma cover. There's going to be some X's marked along that ramp. Try to stick to them as much as possible. We understand that sometimes it's a little tricky, especially when you're excited and nervous and whatnot. So just a little bit to be aware of. Once you're directed by the ushers, then the next row will stand and make their way to the platform. So again, just pay attention to your ushers and when they're telling you to stand, and you'll be good to go. Once you have exited the stage, so you'll go across the entire stage, you'll go down the small set of stairs, and once you've exited, there's going to be some like rope essentially guiding you back to your seating area. So just go back to your seat and sit down in your seat at that time. We do ask that the last graduate waits at the end of the stair. We will have a success coach there, Kevin Brinkman, and he will be waiting there with you to help cue you in to go back on the stage. The reason we do this is we ask the last graduate to go back on the stage and get all of the graduates' attention, basically. That's their cue. And everybody then, all the graduates at that time, move their tassels together from the right to the left. With that being said, take note, because this is generally a question. I had the same question when I graduated college, that your tassel, when you first put on your cap, is going to start on the right side. Once you have made your way across the stage and we reach the end of the ceremony, that last graduate will be your signal, and everybody together will move it over to the left to kind of signify, solidify your accomplishment. Now, after the ceremony, there's a few words that'll wrap up from Dr. Bowman. When you are exiting the arena, we do ask that you exit in the same fashion you entered, just in reverse. Again, your ushers will be leading the way. You'll be going first this time after the platform party. So you'll be going before the faculty. So platform party exit the stage, then the graduates exit the arena, and then the faculty will exit behind you. So once you are back behind those bleacher areas, that's kind of when you're set free as far as the ceremony process goes. Now, we do ask that you exit all the way through those doors that you came into from the cafe court area. And that's just to maintain consistency, and so we're not congested behind the bleachers. And then if you do have an extra diploma cover, if you may have already received one, which I'll explain in just a little bit, that's where the basket will be to leave those for those fall graduates. You'll want to listen for the recessional music. Again, pay attention to the cue from the ushers. Just kind of all that stuff, same theme here. A few important notes. I talked a little bit about graduating with honors, but there's a little bit of information I want to add to that, like some common questions. Now, to graduate with honors, you have to have a GPA of a 3.5 or higher and be graduating from a diploma or associate's program. So graduating with honors is not eligible for certificate programs. Also, if you have a 3.49, we do not round up, so you have to actually have a 3.5 or higher. So keep that in mind, and that will depend on what tier that you graduate in, magna cum laude, summa cum laude, that kind of thing. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we will have VETS cords in the same spot, so you can pick those up at that same time if you would like. You're going to want to make sure your cords are in place when you're getting into line, because you'll walk in with those as you all probably expect. If you have any questions or need any help with that, please let one of the staff members know that'll be around in that cafe, court, and arena area. Now, talking about your diploma degree, your official diploma or degree will be mailed to you with an official transcript shortly after graduation, and only after you've completed both exit counseling with financial aid, if you used financial aid funding, and or have paid your bill in full with our student account office. So you're going to want to make sure those two things are absolutely taken care of, or you won't be released your degree and or your official transcript. So when you walk across the stage, you're going to be receiving your diploma cover. Again, as I mentioned, degrees are going to be mailed. Now, if you graduated from your program in the fall, so like December of 2020, you would have already received a diploma cover in the mail. So, or had picked it up from Western Dakota Tech. If that is you, you already have one. So we still want to give you something as you're walking across the stage for consistency. So those are the graduates that will leave those diploma covers in the basket that I referenced that will be in the cafe court area as you're exiting the ceremony. Personal belongings. Please note that you will be asked to carry all personal belongings that you bring the entire time. So during lineup, as you're walking into the arena, as you're walking out of the arena, at your seats, all that stuff, you'll be required to hang on to those yourself. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about what you actually want to bring and carry with you. Please arrive on time and sober. Again, something we hope goes without being said, but we know this is a big moment in your life and you're going to want to celebrate, and everybody's version of celebrating looks a little different. So we just want to make sure you know that if you do show up to the Civic Center and you are suspected of being under the influence of drugs or alcohol, you will not be able to participate in this ceremony. You don't want to miss this moment, and you want to remember this moment too. Remember your masks, remind your guests to remember their masks, and also remember to keep your masks on at all times. Now, there is a couple exceptions where you're going to see people taking their masks off. So I want to just point those out now so you're clear on those and aren't getting the wrong idea. Our national anthem performer, when they go on stage, they are separated far enough away from everybody that they are going to take their mask off to perform. As well as when we have people speaking at the podiums, those are separated far enough on the stage so that those people can take their masks off as well. So when you see those, don't be alarmed. It's not a signal that everybody can take their masks off. It's just to allow us to be able to hear them more clearly, and they're not muffled through the sound of their mask. But please keep yours on at all times, as you will see your guests and staff and faculty doing as well. Okay, so one more look at the maps here. I know there's a Q&A session. As I mentioned, this is the same information that was provided to our live rehearsal participants. So if you do have questions, reach out to the Student Success Center Registrar's Office, myself. You can email me at fawn.hall@wdt.edu, and I'm happy to answer questions for you directly. Everybody has this same information and has gone through their own training as well, who's going to be working the event. So please feel confident that you have a wide variety of people that can help answer your questions. And if there's something they just don't know or aren't super clear on, they're going to get you in touch or find out from the right people. So taking a look at maps one more time. So this is the map that we referenced to kind of show you around where you're going to go. The other map that you're going to have attached in your email is this one. So this just gives you more of a overall kind of broader perspective of what it looks like during the ceremony. Mount Rushmore Road, Central High School. As I mentioned, your guest for convenience will want to park in the parking lot directly across from Central High School. And then we have the entrance to the Civic Center that's closest to the Barnett Arena. They'll walk in the doors, the ticket booth, second set of entrance. You as a graduate will continue making your way down the North Concourse. There will be someone here to let you all the way through. In the East Concourse is where the food court, aka cafe court, is that I've referenced. And this is the area that you're going to want to group into your programs. Behind this is where Johnny Sunby Photography is going to be positioned about an hour to an hour and a half before each ceremony. And when it's time for you to line up, we'll be announcing that right here. And when you line up, you'll start at the beginning and then just get behind the person in front of you in line. Make sure that you stay within the line that you are assigned to. We'll go through those doors behind the bleachers and enter into the arena where we will host the ceremony. So as I mentioned, these will be included in your attachment in your email. Again, if you have any questions, please do not be afraid to reach out. Otherwise, I will see you at graduation, either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Not Sunday, sorry, Friday, Saturday, or Saturday at noon. No graduation Sunday. So yeah, I hope this was super helpful for you. Feel free to show up, celebrate, just be smart, and we look forward to being able to celebrate with you as well.